Life Audio.
Well, we do what we do. I do what I do because I want to see a religious freedom well protected. Why do I want to see that be the case? Well, number one, I like freedom, and I think we ought to be a more generally free people rather than a less free people. And one critical aspect of freedom is religious freedom. If we're not free to pursue what God has called us to be in our lives, to how do we worship, how we express our religious beliefs, wherever we might find ourselves, then we're less free as a people. So I'm just doing my little part in the corner of the United States of America, making sure that we as a country remain a free people. And that means protecting robustly our first freedom, our religious freedom. It is wildly discouraging to an attorney who has bled, sweated, and cried over those cases to get a significant victory and a change of precedent, to see people more comfortable under the old regime of less freedom rather than the new day of good freedom. And so if you want to be a part of really changing the culture, go live like a free people. And at the very minimum, you'll make the litigators that have spent a long part of their career achieving those victories, you'll make them happy again. But beyond that, and more importantly, you'll support the notion that we are a free people, that the government ought to respond to the God-given rights that we have been provided at our creation, that they didn't invent on their own, but they're supposed to recognize and fully protect. So there's more work to be done, but with the work that we have unlocked, let's live like the free people that we actually are. No, the idea ought to be, and the Founding Fathers were committed to this notion, I think, that you ought to be free to pursue the thing that is above and beyond the issue of politics, that is pre-political. You've got a responsibility to the divine, and what others will view as just simply sort of crazy talk, for the religiously motivated person is an eternal consequence, an eternal decision. And so that vertical relationship that we have as human beings to the thing that stands against and above government, we ought to be free to pursue. This is something that James Madison developed in his Memorial and Remonstrance on religious liberty, that what one man views as simply a kind of a country club thought is to another person something of enormous eternal consequences. And so we ought to provide a maximum amount of space for those people to be able to pursue their duties, their obligations to the divine, even if some others just view that as a sort of nicety of being an American citizen. It's uncomfortable for us to stand up and to stand against Caesar at times. That's a difficult place to be. It's also a very lonely place to be because, as I tell a lot of my clients, the opposition will understand you're taking this legal action against them. They get lawsuits all the time. It's your Sunday school class that'll have a problem with that, because there is this erroneous teaching that says that good Christians, they submit to government, they don't file lawsuits, they just submit and do what they're told to do. Well, that's obviously not true, and it doesn't take very much effort to figure out why that's false. But there is yet a reigning notion that says, well, good, nice Christians don't be mean lawsuit people. I beg to differ with that point, because if there are appropriate roles of authority and power within our human structures, whether that's the church or the state, then they have independent spheres of authority, or spheres of sovereignty, as Kuyper liked to put it. And if that's the case and the government gets out of its appropriate sphere of authority, well, then it is incumbent upon us as a people, especially within the structure that we find ourselves as a democratic republic, to remind our government officials where their proper authority lies, and it is outside the four walls of a church. There was a law back in 1984 that was passed that guarantees your right to have that club inside of your public high school. And so there's more to be said about all of that. But the reality is that we have more freedoms than I think we sort of assume that we do. We've been told for so long that our freedoms are greatly limited when it comes to religious liberty. We've actually bought into that, and we've largely bought into that in the church. And so I would encourage people of faith especially to go to First Liberty, go to firstliberty.org, learn more about your religious liberty, and exercise them. Because if you fail to protect your own religious freedom, then we've lost a little bit of freedom by one small cut at a time.
Life Audio.